All right, so let's talk about another lesson on things that you guys need to avoid doing this in the crypto market cycle. So the next thing you need to avoid doing is mixing strategies. No one really talks about this except for a couple guys on Twitter, but it's super important. And essentially, basically to sum it up, there's many ways that you can make money in crypto, but if you mix the different ways to make money, you're going to make no money. Okay? In crypto, there's many ways to make money. Long-term investing, momentum trading, day trading, airdrop farming, pre-sales, swing trading. There's many, many different ways to make money. And the problem that people have is that they don't have a definite answer on what their strategy, what their edge and process is. And so they end up sort of like mixing and matching certain principles from different strategies. So for example, when you do long-term investing, you're only supposed to buy when it hurts. But what a lot of people will do is they'll buy a coin when it's pumping, and they'll say, "Oh, it's a long-term hold. I'm okay with price going down," or they'll say like, "Oh, it's a swing trade," and they end up losing money, and so they don't sell, and they end up holding it. The position turns into a long-term position, and it just doesn't work because you're mixing and matching strategies. It would be like you play soccer. You learn and you understand that there's certain things that you do in soccer, and then you go and you try to apply these lessons in a game of tennis, right? Soccer and tennis are different. Some things are the same, but if you try to play tennis as a soccer player, you're going to be an idiot. Like, imagine you started kicking the tennis ball. Like, the guy hits the ball to you, he serves it at you, and then you fucking kick the ball. Like, what, are you an idiot? You moron. People do that in crypto, and they don't understand that they're fucking up. So let's get into a bit more of a specific visual example to show you guys. So the gray thing is basically price going from low to high, right? This is the bottom, this is the top, right? Now, obviously, crypto over time does something more like this, right? But let's just pretend that let's just operate in a fear and greed market cycle. So this is the peak fear at the bottom, this is the peak fear at the top. Fear at tops and bottoms is always the same, but the price is different, obviously. So every time we have a new peak in fear, because of inflation and population growth and adoption, the price is actually at a higher peak, right? But for the sake of the simplicity of a visualization, let's just say that this is the peak fear, this is the peak greed, this is the peak fear, okay? So when you long-term invest, you can only buy in this green box, and you can only sell in this red box, right? The goal is that you buy low, right? Even if it's up here a bit. You buy low, and then you sell high. That's the only way that you can do long-term investing. If you do long-term investing, and you're buying, for example, here, you're not buying when you have asymmetric upside, and this strategy in the long term is not profitable, right? You have to buy dips, buy low, and then sell high on rips, okay? If you buy when it's pumping, you do not have asymmetric upside, and when you don't have asymmetric upside, you are no longer in a strategy which is profitable on over a 20-year time horizon. So yeah, sometimes you buy here, and then you can sell it here. But if you did this 20 years in a row, a lot of the time you're going to buy here, but it's actually going to hit a top here, and then the price is going to go down, and you're going to lose money, right? Upside must be asymmetric when you buy, and it's only asymmetric when it's in this, rough bottom region, okay? Or maybe it goes up, and then it pulls back, and it's a little bit higher, but it's a pullback, and it can still go up to here. The downside is here, the upside is here, right? So you have all this upside, a little bit of downside, it's still asymmetric. But you get the basic idea, okay? Now, when you do long-term investing, you buy when you have a thesis in mind. You sell when the thesis plays out or it's invalidated. You only buy when it hurts, and you only sell when it hurts. Because, right, remember in investing, right, if you hold something for multiple years, right, you either buy when it's pumping and then you lose money, or you buy when it's dumping, when it hurts, and you make money, right? If you buy a coin and you hold it for the long term and you bought it when it didn't hurt, the price is inevitably going to go below your entry because that is just how markets work. Okay? 99 times out of 100, you buy when it feels good, you lose money. It's just how markets work. Okay? Because markets fluctuate from peak greed to peak fear. You buy here, the cycle is eventually going to come around. Even if it goes up short term, it's eventually going to come around and it's going to go below your entry price. Okay? And that is why you need to, if you're doing long-term investing, to buy in this region, because you need to have enough asymmetric upside so that you can sell up here. There needs to be a big enough gap in the profit, right? This gap here. This gap needs to be big enough between the entry and the exit so that it justifies the risk that you carry in case the position goes lower. Okay? And the more it hurts, the lower you're getting in here, the more upside you have and the less downside that you have. Right? You can see the closer you get to the bottom, right, the less downside you have and the more upside that you have, right? That is how you do long-term investing. Also, you want to capture 6/8 of the trend, right? You're not trying to capture all the trend. You're not trying to buy the bottom, you're not trying to sell the top. You're trying to capture most of it. And there's no stop loss. You don't use stop losses when you do long-term investing, right? The stop loss is your thesis. It's your invalidation, right? When your thesis for why you bought doesn't play out, that's when you sell. Or when your thesis plays out, that's when you take profit, right? Also, in investing, you give your losses a little bit of time to perform well, right? If you're doing a shorter time frame position, like a day trade, if the position's going against you, you cut it within maybe an hour. But with longer term investing, you give it time to play out, but you do end up cutting the loser if it doesn't play out, okay? Now let's look at what another strategy is. So this is the bottom, this is the top. You know, peak fear, peak greed, right? When you're doing momentum trading, you have a much larger range that you can enter a position in, right? So let's try to visualize this on a chart. So long-term investing, you can only really buy here. This is the first, part of the trend, right? You shouldn't be doing your long-term investments up here. You should have already been positioned, okay? Because if you buy when it feels good, you're inevitably going to lose money. Prices inevitably, even if it's not now, maybe it goes higher, but it inevitably comes down and you lose money. So you should only be buying in the, first part of the bull run when the upside is asymmetric. And when you do momentum trading, well, if you're a momentum trader, you can buy here because you're riding the momentum of the trend. So let's say you entered here and the price is now here. That was a very good trade. Okay, so this is a different strategy. Momentum trading is about buying high and selling higher. Okay, it's not about buying low, selling high. It's about buying high, selling higher. Very different strategy. It's a shorter time frame. So the position, instead of being from maybe here to over here, a year-long time frame position, it's going to be maybe a month, right? A momentum trade, maybe a month or maybe a week. Okay, and you likely use a stop loss because when you do a momentum trading strategy, right, you're buying high. When you buy high, right, let's say you bought here and you want to sell it here, momentum. You're buying it really high, which means you have asymmetric downside, right? The price could easily drop down to this level, right? It could easily go to that level. So if you have a momentum trade, you need to have a stop loss because you have a big downside that you could potentially incur. But when you buy near the bottom, when people have capitulated, the downside is very limited. You don't need a stop loss. It's also a longer term position. It's also about the thesis that's playing out, right? So you can see the difference in the strategy here. Now let's look at day trading. So day trading, you might go down to the 5-minute time frame, right? And when you're on such a low time frame, you can trade during any period of the market. It's not about buying low. It's not about selling high. Doesn't matter if the price is 5% from hitting the top for 4 years. You can still enter a long position because your time frame for the position is so low that you only have to capture a little bit. Let's say in an hour from now, this is the top for the next year, right? And let's say you have a technical strategy where you buy dips, right? So maybe price goes here and you sell it at the resistance level here, right? A day trade. And this trade lasts for about an hour. Let me do a straight line, right? It doesn't matter that this is the top for the year because you're entering at this point and you're selling it at this point and you have a stop loss here and you have a take profit here. So you can see that there's a very different approach, very different rules depending on which strategy that you want to follow. Okay, and if you mix and